Welcome back to Leading with Inclusion, the podcast where we equip leaders to create diverse, inclusive, and high-performing workplaces. I'm your host, Sam Miskini, and today we are focusing on leadership's role in building and sustaining an inclusive culture. Here's the reality. Inclusion doesn't happen by chance. It requires deliberate, consistent leadership from the top. If you want your organization to innovate, thrive, and attract top talents, you have to lead with inclusion. In this episode, we'll explore why leadership sets the tone for inclusivity, what inclusive leadership looks like in practice, and finally, concrete actions you can take today to create an inclusive culture. Let's dive in. As a leader, your words, decisions, and actions have a ripple effect throughout your organization. Why is this so critical when it comes to inclusion? First of all, culture starts at the top. A CEO or a senior leader's priorities shape the organization's values. If inclusion isn't a visible priority for you, it won't be for your teams. 2. Employees follow your leads. A Deloitte study found that 76% of employees believe inclusion starts with leadership behavior. Leaders who model inclusivity inspire their teams to do the same. And finally, the power of representation. Leadership diversity, or the lack of it, sends a strong signal. Employees need to see leaders who look like them and value diverse perspectives to feel a sense of belonging. For example, Satya Nadella, CEO of Microsoft, emphasizes empathy and inclusion as a core leadership values. By integrating these into the company's culture, Microsoft has fostered collaboration and innovation on a global scale. Bottom line, as a leader, you're not just a decision maker, you're a culture architect. Now, let's talk about what inclusive leadership actually looks like in practice. Here are some key traits. First of all, self-awareness. Recognize your own biases and blind spots. No leader is perfect, but the best leaders are committed to learning and improving. For example, taking unconscious bias training and encouraging your teams to do the same. 2. Empathy. Inclusive leaders listen actively and seek to understand others' experiences. Empathy builds trust and psychological safety. During your one-on-one, for example, you can ask open questions like, "What can I do to support you better?" 4. Accountability. Inclusive leaders set clear expectations for diversity and inclusion goals and hold themselves and their teams accountable. By incorporating D&I metrics into performance reviews and tie them to business outcomes. Finally, collaboration. Embrace diverse perspectives by creating opportunities for everyone to contribute regardless of their role or background. For example, by assigning cross-functional teams to projects to encourage diverse problem-solving approaches. Inclusive leadership isn't about perfection, it's about commitment, authenticity, and consistent action. Some leaders ask, "Okay, that's all great, but what's the ROI of inclusive leadership?" Let me flip that. What's the cost of not leading with inclusion? Here's the business case. First of all, employee engagement. Teams led by inclusive managers report 17% increase in team performance, according to Deloitte study. Inclusion motivates employees to go above and beyond. 2. Retention. A lack of inclusion leads to high turnover, especially among underrepresented groups. Replacing employees is costly, not just financially, but also in lost expertise. Finally, innovation. Inclusive leaders create a culture where diverse ideas are valued, fueling creativity and better decision making. For example, Google projects Aristotle found that psychological safety, an element of inclusive leadership, was the most important factor in high performing teams. Inclusive leadership isn't just nice to have, it drives results and gives your organization a competitive edge. If you're ready to lead with inclusion, here are 3 actionable steps you can start to do today. They are very simple. Embed inclusion in your vision. Make diversity and inclusion part of your company's missions and values. Talk about it regularly in meetings, emails, publicly. 2. Create feedback channels. Give your employees safe ways to share their experiences and ideas. Anonymous surveys, town halls, employee resource groups are great starting points. Finally, reward inclusive behavior. Recognize and celebrate employees who model inclusion, whether it's mentoring colleagues or fostering collaboration. Small actions add up. Leadership isn't about grand gestures, it's about consistency. To recap, leadership is the foundation of an inclusive culture. By setting the tone, modeling the right behaviors, and holding your teams accountable, you can build a workplace where everyone thrives and innovation flourishes. Here's my challenge for you this week. Reflect on how you're showing up as an inclusive leader. What's one behavior you can change or improve to make your organization more inclusive? Thank you for listening to Leading with Inclusion. If you found today's episode valuable, please subscribe and share it with your network. I would also love to hear your thoughts. Feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn. Let's keep the conversation going. Together, we can drive change and create workplaces where everyone belongs. See you soon.